I've always had a love for golden retrievers since I was a little girl, and I had decided to participate in the retriever sports. In competition, you have people out in the field who are throwing bumpers or birds for your dog, and you send the dog through different kinds of terrain, and the dog's job is to work with you to figure out which retrieve to get. There's also another element to the sport which requires a lot of teamwork. So it's up to you and the dog to work together. You whistle and stop the dog, and then you direct them with hand signals to get the retrieve. And when you're talking about long distances like 300, 400 yards and rolling terrain or big bodies of water, it takes a lot for the dog to stop and really take your directions in that high distraction environment. So when I first got started, everyone was telling me, you need to use force, you need to use this method and really compel the dog to do the work. I thought, I can do this without the harsh punishment, and I tried. I couldn't figure it out for a while. And so I actually did start to follow the force protocol. There's pinching of the dog's ear to get them to open their mouth and understand. And so as I was doing this ear pinch method, my dog that I was training at the time, he just clamped his mouth and he just stoically looked forward. And then at some point he looked sideways at me like, really? And so at that moment I was kind of like, okay, I gotta figure this out. It's a pretty rich tradition that goes back to the 40s in the United States. And so back then, that's just how they trained animals, with, coercion and a little bit of intimidation. The key was, this is work for the dog, and we need to communicate to the dog that they need to work. It's not just playtime. My whole reason for getting into the sport was to develop that teammate relationship with my dog. That was the whole reason I wanted to be there. And when you force your dog to be compelled to do a task, that feeling of teamwork kind of disappeared. I wanted to find a way that made me feel joy and made the dog feel joy in the working together and the teamwork. One of my friends on Facebook had shared Susan's little commercial, and I thought, oh, I recognize that name. So I clicked on it and I watched her free workshop, and I was just blown away. My mouth dropped on the floor at how amazing she was and how effective whatever she was doing, it was working. And I mean, so many things that she taught were relevant to me. I signed up, and honest to God, it changed my life. You can see in their eyes when they're trying to make a choice. It's like when they're presented with a choice and they look at you like, what would you do, Mom? What would you want me to do? And then they do it. It shows you the power of this teaching technology, that you're inside their head now, and it's their choice to do what you want. All of my dogs were adults when I started recallers, until my last puppy. Raising him from a baby puppy with recallers games is ridiculously easy, and it's amazing the result. He's got all the formal behaviors that I need for the sport at such an early age. I would play like 5-6 games every morning, and then in the evening the same thing. It was like having trained him for 2 years. In a sport where everybody else is using force, and you know that your dog is happy and joyful and sees this sport as a game instead of work, it just, that's what gives you joy in your heart. eyes are opening and people are acknowledging that this really works. If I could talk to myself 6 years ago when I was trying to make that decision, I would say, believe it. Believe it. It's based in science. Susan has been a genius at transforming science into games. And like I said before, when you can see in your dog's eyes the mixture of joy and the power that they have to make a decision from something that you taught them, it's you can believe in it. It really does work. But it's also how to gain confidence, how to gain capability, and how to reach farther than you thought you could reach. So, and when you do that, your life changes.